My final comments is just a clarion call today. Gambia is at the crossroads, Ahmed. If the Gambia ever needs its citizens, its good citizens, to stand up and fight for the future of that country, it is now. Now is the time. If we miss this train, believe me, like you said, we might as well consider our options.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa my fellow panelists and also viewers of Region Online TV. Welcome to another episode of Salah, the turning point for the people of Kombo, and also land and environmental issues affecting the West Coast region, especially the Kombo coastal communities. Welcome you all. Okay. Dr. Conte. Yeah, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, the leader of potential leader of CA Citizen Alliance. We appreciate your time. Thank you all once again for honoring our invitation. I know you are a very, very busy man, but you find time in your busy schedule to be here. That shows your leadership qualities and how you are to take your rightful place in building of that country. Welcome, Dave. What we're going to do, we'll allow our Dave to introduce himself, then Dr. Conte, then our main guest, which is Dr. Ismail. He said, then he can continue with his presentation. Then after we can ask questions, if any questions. So David, Dave, please introduce yourself to our viewers and also introduce this program. Maybe a big background, to give Doctor an idea why we are here. Thank you.
Right. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Like Mr. Ahmed Majan said, this is we like to have a conversation here. Really, it's just a forum where we can come and exchange ideas. So it's not like a hot seat. So no politicians in the Gambia should be duly concerned. We don't want to put too much pressure on you. So anyway, yes, this program, my name is Dave Mane, DF Mane. I'm from Bufu. Although Dr. Conte just told me today that I'm actually from Jiboro. So I think he probably going to give us some history on that. I'm not too sure, but there you go. But I understand Jiboro is also in the Gambia anyway, so it's all good. Yes, I'm from Beaufort. I live in the UK. What's it called? Few months back now, nearly 5 months back, we all probably recall the incident that happened in Sukuta Salaji, where the what's it called? The state security forces, you want to call them that, took it upon themselves to demolish some structures in Salaji. And then the destruction of the structures were very selective. They just happened to go around and destroy buildings and fences of people who were actually the natives of Sukuta, which we thought was very, very unjust. And obviously, there's a historical background to this. So on the back of that, I wrote an article, more like an open letter, if you want to call it that, condemning that in very, very strong terms, but also calling on Kombonkers to use that sad event, that unfortunate event in Salaji, for us to put a marker down in the Gambia to say, I mean, this is the last, we're not going to accept this anymore, because the lands are actually our land. and we don't agree with the State Land Act #1 anyway. We thought it's demonstrably, unjust. But we just thought that even legally, I don't think the interpretation of the State Land Act is actually right. So this is all these efforts are geared towards that. We're trying to encourage, if you want to call it, force it, if you want to say, if you can call it that, a Gambian debate, a national debate about these Cumberland issues, because they've been going on for so long, and we don't seem to have any a solution seem to be out of reach for everybody right now. But we, in our own small ways, we thought that if we can force a national conversation, probably we can make some headway. So this is what we're doing here. And obviously we got people like Dr. Ceesay who can come and join us now and again, Dr. Conte, other people. It's an open platform. We like to invite everybody, Kombonka, Gambian, Senegalese, anybody who think that you got interest in this issue, come over and have a chat. It's a human right issue, #1. Yeah, so it's an injustice. The just issue is an injustice issue. So I think it concerns all Gambians really. It concerns all people with conscience. So that's what it is about really. We're very happy and we're very honored to have Dr. Ceesay join us for the second time today. Thank you, Dr. Ceesay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dave Mane. And Prof. Conte, can you just give a brief introduction of yourself to the viewers of Bunyo Online TV?
Okay, thank you. To be quite candid, I'm Dr. Conte. For the interest of time, I just want to go ahead and talk about the purpose of our meeting today. We have been talking about this for over a month, probably 2 months. The expropriation of land in Kombo by the Ministry of Lands and Local Government, intended for institutional development or industrial. But by the way, it turns out that most of the land that they have expropriated ends up in the hands of private people. And so if you look at the land size or agricultural land size going from Bakau all the way down to Kafuta, Sumakunda actually in Kombo East, if we're talking about Kombo. But I do believe that if we're going to talk about land issue in Kombo, we cannot leave our brothers and sisters in Kombo. And so this land issue, I have no problem with any private person selling their land, but I have issue with government taking land and allocating it to private citizens. And then the Minister of Local Government, like I stated, had unilateral right to even allocate. So day in and day out, we see all these problems going on. So there are people, their hands are tied. Maybe they don't have the privilege like we have. So we really want to come together and join hands and collectively to ensure that land ownership, because this is the only place, Kombo South, Kombo North, Kombo Central. The 1991 land law is still in existence, and our people's rights have been taken away from them. So I think we all need to come together to find solution to it and to hold our politicians accountable for them to give us their political parties stand on the land tenure system. We are not going to wait until you win election to tell us what you're going to do. We want you to give us a blueprint or provide us with a blueprint as to what your policy is on the land grabbing in Kombo. I stop right there.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Conte, for that brief introduction. So, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, welcome. You can, again, as a politician, I'm going to be kind to you. Again, give a generous introduction of yourself to Gambian, who is Dr. Ceesay. And at the end of the program, also, I'll give you a platform to say whatever you want to say to Gambians. But for now, it's about land issues and environment, what your party have. For the Gambian people, because if you say Kombo is Gambia, is a melting point, it's a representative of entire nations. So welcome to Bunyo TV Online.
Thank you very much. Thank you, my brothers, my colleagues, compatriots, Dave, Ahmed, and Dr. Conte. Doctor obviously is my uncle. It's my second time to be on this platform, and I am really honored to be sharing a platform with people like you to discuss a very important issue. Obviously, as you all know, my name is Ismaila Ceesay. I'm from Kombo. Coincidentally, this land issue currently is about Kombo, but believe me, it's not going to stay. It's not only going to about Kombo in the future. It might spread other parts of the country. The problems or the issues affecting Kombo today will affect other parts of the country. Once those areas also, those land become prime land, but we'll go into those details later on. Obviously, I'm a university lecturer, political science at University of Gambia, heading the political science department, also directing the master's program in international relations and diplomacy. I think this land issue should be a priority for any government. It's a very important, very complex, very sensitive issue. We should also bear in mind that the current land tenure and the way things have been done, it has really done some damage, which would be very difficult to reverse that damage, except if we really find very innovative ways of approaching the issue. First of all, we need to understand the problem. Why the problem? What is happening? Why are we having this problem today? If we don't know the root causes of the problem, then we cannot find a solution to it. We need to find the root causes. What has been happening with regards to Kombo land? Like I said, it's a very important issue. It should be priority for any government. It's very volatile. And for me, it's like a volcano that if we don't really find ways to deal with it now, in terms of, because you have to understand the land issue or the land problem from two angles. The first angle is what's happening currently, but also in the future as well. Because we don't stop it now, if we don't find a solution to it now, it might drag on, and then we might pass it on to next generations, which can be very, very serious. So it's not a political issue though. And for me, even though we're a political party, we're politicians, but we don't like to have a political approach to the land Kombo issue. I mean, everybody knows that Kombo is it's a hot cake. I mean, any politician who wants to win elections, you must get Kombo. But that will not mean that we have to come and say things that we know it's not going to solve the problem for political expedience. This is a security issue because it has to do with livelihoods. It's about people's livelihood. It has also to do with resources because land doesn't go. If land is an issue because it's about livelihoods, it's about resources. Land alone would not be an issue. But because of these two things attached to the livelihoods and resources, it makes the problem more complex. It makes the issue to be something that every government must be really having a proactive ways to solve it. What we've observed is that governments have been very reactive to the problem. Whenever there's a problem in Salaji or in Sumbala or in Gunju, then they react. I think going forward, what we need is a proactive stance to this. We need to start to point out and find out the hotspots. What are the hotspots now, or even the likely hotspots? What areas do we observe to be having simmering tensions might simmer in the future? So we need to identify those hotspots now. We don't have to wait until it explodes and start dealing with those areas now to avoid further problems. Now, how we are going to go about as a party to solve the land problem, I think once we get into the discussion proper, we can go into those details. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Ceesay. Dave, you hear that introduction. I know there is some very, very important that the root causes, finding out the hotspots, and also this is not a political issue, it's a national security issue. And they're not going to come and promise us this is what we'll do just before the election. So any question, or do you want to add to what Dr. just said? Like,
yeah, I think Dr. Ceesay is actually very right. It's important we try to understand the root cause, because the history is very, very important, and that's where the Jamarat's regime comes into play, into the equation. But I think it's a very political issue. It might not be a party political issue, but I think it's going to have to. We'll need politics to fix it, because we might have to pass legislation. Only politicians can pass legislation. So yes, I think it is political, but it's very right. We don't want to make it two-party political, because as he says, some parties will jump around for political expediency. saying that, oh, we're going to stand by Kombo people. But when you actually grill them, you realize that actually, it's no substance what they're saying. So I think it's very, very right there. So I think we need to be very, very careful about that. And then we are on game. I mean, we're not fools here. Yeah, but it's good. It's good. It's good that he's very honest. I didn't have any doubt that he will be honest anyway, because I think I can't say I know him personally, but from the interactions, we've been on some forums here and there, even though we don't directly interact. But yeah, I've been on forums with him, so I think it's nice to hear that. But I'm not very surprised that he's saying that. And it's also because he's looking this problem holistically, and this is what we need. That's why I tell people we need people in government politics who. It's not because of credentials, no, but it's because of their ideas about the problems we have. It's not just traditional, they're happy to be what's it called innovative. We need innovative ideas because the problems we had, they've been so entrenched, and we have struggled to find solutions to them because of the way we're thinking. So we need to check that thinking a little bit. So I think that having people like Dr. Ceesay, if he doesn't mind me saying, fresh blood, into the mix, I think it helps us a lot. So I think it's very, very right. But I would say I'm sure he meant by it's not party political, but obviously we're gonna need politics to solve the problem. So yeah, I quite agree with him completely, absolutely.
Yeah. Before I come back to Doctor to harp on the root causes and also what it means is a national security issue, I'll jump to Dr. Conte to have a say about what Doctor just mentioned about the root causes of this problem and not political. What's your take on that?
Well, I have a different perspective in a sense that I don't think the land issue is a security problem, is the food security problem. Because if we talk about the expropriation of land in Kombo, going all the way to Bakau, where we used to have farmland, rice fields, they are all gone. So if you are from Bakau, you won't have the opportunity of planting any seed because the government has allocated or expropriated your land. And then if you go to Brookwood Heights, when I was in the Gambia in 2005, it was farmland. And now that one has been converted to residential. Again, it's a food security problem. You can go on and on and on and on. You notice that arable land in the Gambia has been replaced for residential land. I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't have that. But for the life of me, I don't understand how anyone can phantom that if you are from Bakau, you don't have anywhere to farm. If you are from Sukuta, you don't have anywhere to farm. If you are from Brookwood, you don't have anywhere to farm. And actually, if you are from Musumbala, Lameng, Banjulending, Abuko, Tabokoto, Talending, and so forth, you don't have anywhere to farm. I still do believe that it is a food insecurity issue that we have to talk about. I also believe it's a political issue because of the fact that the alcalos that are appointed by the government, they cannot speak against the government's expropriation. So it's a political issue. It is a political issue because the chiefs in our region are afraid to speak against government's expropriation because if they do, they're going to be dismissed as chiefs. Let's go back to 1991, the root cause of the problem. When Sadara's government said that all lands in Kombo belong to the government, it was Honorable Lamin Kiti Jabang of Kombo is that we now have transferred the DF money to Jiboro. That said that all land, I said not in Kombo East, not in Kombo East. So that being the case, Japan said no, it's not going to happen in Kombo East. But according to Ami Bensuda, research, law firms research on the land issue in the Gambia, particularly Kombo, 8.29 square kilometers of land in Faraba has been expropriated by the government. And our farmers out there cannot even go right now at this moment to even farm on the land that they used to. But yet still the government doesn't have the means to even fence the whole entire property as theirs. So to me, it's an issue. And then let's be frank here. For 32 years since Sadada was president, not a single Kombonka was appointed Minister of Local Government, Lands and Local Government. If the minister has the wherewithal of allocating land, and I bet if you do research on Ceesay, when he was Minister of Local Government, you probably would have noticed that he allocated a lot of land to his family members and friends from the same region. So we are not trying to talk about regionalism, but these people have a choice to go back to where they come from. So if our land is, so if we need politicians to give us directive to tell us where they stand on this land issue. I, for one, do believe that our people are marginalized in Kombo. And for us, we are fortunate to be in diaspora. But how about the people who are back home, who do not have the means to go and farm? Tell me, if you are from Brikama, where are you going to, how can you walk about 3, 4, 5 miles to go and plant? So I do believe that politicians, leaders of political parties should tell us where they stand. And as far as I'm concerned, I maintain that policy to say that we have been taken for granted in Kombo since 1960. And it is high time that, because one alcalde of Kombo told me, not Kombo Karafal Male. So if that is the case, we, the sons and daughters of Kombo, we should stand up and say that enough is enough. The government cannot expropriate land from us and then turn around and allocate it to private citizens. The government cannot come and take land in Farababande, 80.29 square kilometers. The place is not fenced. And our farmers cannot go there and even plant even 1 acre of land. So in my view, we have to stand up. So any politician who's going to come here, you're going to tell us. You can tell us the root causes that we have, but we want solution. We want to know where your political party stands. If you don't have a manifesto that is ready to tell us, we will wait until you have it. But my God, I can tell you, when election time comes in, if you don't have any policy on Komboland issue, we will campaign against you, and that's why I stand.
I think, Doctor, we are mistaken if we want to make this Kombo thing against the rest. This is about Gambia. This is not only about Kombo. I agree with you on only one side, which is that appropriation must be done properly. Appropriation is not bad if it's in the public interest. For me, that's my thinking. Appropriation is not bad if it's in how we are going to do how governments will appropriate. That's where the problem is. And most of the problems today, why it's happening, is because the land is monetized. Let me tell you something. Even the people in Bakau and the Kombos who own are not using it for farming. They are selling it because there is high premium in land in that country. So we need to approach this thing holistically and not only focus on making this thing we the Kombos and the rest. It's not about that. This is a Gambia problem. And if we are to solve the problem, we have to have a holistic national approach to it. Because what's happening in Kombo today might happen in Nyomi tomorrow. Because the manner in which land was acquired in Kombo years ago that is leading to this problem today is what's happening in the other parts of the country today. You'll come there, the people, the autochthones, the indigenous will give you land to settle. And then later on, the children who don't, because there are no historical records. And that's one of the problems. The things are not recorded. So what happened is just hearsay. The parents, our elders, great-grandparents who did the transaction, it's not recorded, so we don't know. And this is what's causing this. And as societies expand, as families expand, as they grow, as land becomes monetized and becomes premium, becomes currency, that causes the problem. So for me, I don't like the approach as to this is a Kombo problem. This is a Gambia problem because, and also it's a security problem because food is a security problem. If people are hungry, and if there's no that security problem, it's a security problem.
Can I answer that?
I'm coming.
Hold on. Let him learn. He let you learn.
You need a political solution to solve a security problem. Obviously, that I agree with Dave there. That obviously you need that. But what I'm saying is that let us not politicize this and say parties who don't support Kombo, the Kombos will not vote for that. I think that's a very flawed approach. What is important is any party that looks at the national interest will not come and say the Kombos what they want to hear just to get there. But that is my approach. I want to also find a holistic solution. And it's not about only Kombos today. It's about our future generations as well. What about those children yet unborn? What land are we leaving behind for them? Because if we take all the land today and say we own it and sell it all, because that's what's happening today. We are selling it. We are selling it and it's not regulated. For me, I think what needs to be, that's why I said there are two aspects here. The problem is happening. We need to find a solution to the problem by being proactive, by making sure we engage communities and making sure that, and also demarcation is important. For example, today, look at Sukuta. We don't even know how big Sukuta is because it's been demarcated without even proper care. Some are telling you if a Brusubi is part of Sukuta, even Kersering maybe is part of Sukuta, for example. So we need to do demarcation. We need to make sure we do an inventory of every land in that country and solve the problem. Who should own the land? That's a key fundamental question. Who should own the land? Because there are three instances. Is it the municipality? Is it the public? Is it the government? Or is it communities? And all these three are stakeholders. So we need all the stakeholders, the actors, demarcate so we know exactly which land belongs to who and understand this. And also the most important is to approach it holistically. If we want to go by approaching it as to this is a combo, like a conspiracy against the combos, to get there, I think we'll be very flawed in our thinking and we will not solve the problem.
Well, if I can come in there, I totally disagree with you. I totally disagree wholeheartedly in that. Let me just affirm something here. I said that I have no problem. I have no problem with private citizens selling their land. I have no problem with that. And yes, Dr. Ceesay, I disagree with you. Expropriation is a big problem. Expropriations happened in the 1960s and 1970s, and mostly communist countries actually expropriate. So if we believe in the capitalist mentality system, if a government uses eminent domain, because it says here in lawyer Ami Bensouda's research findings, he said that it is very slow for the government of the Gambia to compensate landowners. And a case even happened in Sukuta where an old man had been promised cash payment. Until he died, he never received a dime. So again, I'm not trying to pit Kombo against the rest of the country. But I'm saying that as far as we are concerned, yes. That's why when I said this, that the issue in Kombo is reflected also in Fonyi. And if we can expand, it's everywhere. But we also have seen what is going on in Kombo. And yes, we the citizens of Kombo, we will stand up. And if you as a politician, you are unwilling to tell us where you stand, yes, we will campaign against that political party. I am willing to stand up for that. That's my belief. Because the thing is that our people, I mean, come on. I mean, you are from Brikama. You see that someone in Brikama Sateba, they don't even have garden. You're telling me an old lady, an old man has to walk almost 3, 4, 5 miles to go to a garden.
I think you're getting it wrong. You're getting it
wrong.
No.
Well, we tend to disagree with that. But
you're getting it wrong. I
think that is the purpose. That is the purpose of engagement. What I'm saying that we can always come to a solution. Exactly. This is what politics is all about.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can find issues and we come to solutions. I am willing to mitigate to meet somebody, but I am not going to sacrifice Kombo land for expediency. I will not.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Konda. I'm coming back to Dr. Ceesay, but before that, Dr. Ceesay, this guy, Gilbert Jassy, he said in Kombo South, the government is saying that our lands is TDA. Can you select it or just leave it? I read it from one side, yeah. We have seen enough exploitation of our natural resources, but we continue to eat and dine with the devil. The people of Kombo need to save their destiny, and no one can do this for us. So what's your take on this, Doctor?
I agree, and that's my position. I think, you see, the issue is that, for me, what I want to make clear here first is we need to find a solution to the problem. Now, every community, that is why demarcation is important. The land of Kombo, or Gunjur, or Sukuta, or Brufut, or Tangi, and the resources therein must benefit those people. And that is why I want to come later to talk about what we want to do exactly, what we need to do to make that happen. The people of Gunjur must benefit from the land and resources of Gunjur. That's a fact. And every government must ensure that. Now, if for any reason, any government wants to get land for public interest, to build a hospital or to do housing projects, those things must be done in accordance with law, whereby the people are compensated and they also benefit from it. That is the thinking. So we don't agree with exploitation. We don't like the fact that the government has to give our resources to the Chinese. The government has to use our resources and it's not benefiting those people. We don't agree with those facts. What is important is that here, community engagement is important. And everybody must be in line. If government wants to use land from Gunjur for projects, it must benefit people of Gunjur in one way or the other. And that is key. And for us, going forward, that should be the solution. How do we ensure that Kombo land benefits the people of Kombo, even if government is going to use it? Currently, we don't agree with the way things are going. It's so much corruption, especially with physical planning. They take land in Salaji and say it's for government projects. They give it to private people who have never even worked for government. I've seen it. I've seen people being given land in Salaji. They never work for government. They never ever work for government, and they have land in so-called government estates in Salaji. So that corruption has to stop. We need to ensure that we find a proper strategy in how we deal with the land issue, because like us, it's a very delicate issue. Emotions cannot solve the land crisis, I can tell you that. It can never solve the land crisis. What it does is reasoning and sitting down and especially engaging the affected communities. If it's Gunjur must have, they have a village development association, a VDC. They have the Alcalo. They have elders who are there. And for me, going forward, in fact, I would even suggest that we need a kind of a permanent land commission, just like National Human Rights Commission is permanent. A permanent land commission with commissioners who will come up with a modernized way of dealing with the land issue, because it's a very important issue. We have the National Human Rights Commission. We need a permanent land commission which will be not only solving current problems, but also preventing future complications has to do with the land issue. And I think that is important going forward. But just agreeing with him, the guy who made that comment, that the people of Gunjur must benefit from their land. In fact, one of the things that we could do is to come up with what they call the land development land community tax. Anybody who's buying land from Gunjur must pay a special tax for community development to develop Gunjur. These are most of the innovative ways we can discuss and come up with this solution. But for now, I think a holistic approach is needed to solve the land problem and remove emotions from the whole equation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dave, who is a recent victim of this land appropriation. I don't know how, but Dave, what your take on Doc's last point? How they try to solve it as a CA government if they come into power?
Yeah, I think there are a few elements here or variables, like we like to say in computer science here. It's quite important we put them into the equation. It's a historical injustice here, and then that started with Jawara's era. And there's also lack of people's awareness and even education, if you want to call it that. We don't want to use language people can find a little bit offensive. But with the lack of education, we don't mean people not going to school, but not understanding even their own right when it comes to land. I think that's a major problem, because people have actually they're not even aware that selling your land to somebody doesn't mean you have to sell it on a free lease or on a on a leasehold. You can sell it on a leasehold instead of a free. Yeah. So our people are not even familiar with this. So that's one problem. And then there's lots of problems in the Gambia. I know when I say this, people thinking I'm anti-Jawara. I was a kid. I didn't understand Jawara. I didn't understand government then. But I think there was no civic education. So the Gambians didn't understand civic education. They didn't understand. So for them, Jawara was like a reincarnation of Mansa. So people, whatever he says, he couldn't actually go against that. That was a problem. So then we got everything mystified. Everything become mystified. Politics and modern day governance and ancient Bur or Mansaya all got mixed up. And our people didn't get proper education in politics. So that became the problem. But just to answer what Dr. Ceesay said, yes, we need to be very careful. Don't get overly emotional. But there is an injustice. And the injustice is actually right now it's only been meted out to Kombunkers. So we can never get away from that. So Kombunkers feel aggrieved, and I think they rightly so they feel aggrieved that their inheritance has been taken away from them. In some instances, we've seen like individuals becoming very, very wealthy on the back of people's inheritance. So we can never get away from that. It's good not to be overly emotional. I mean, when you get emotional, you're emotional. I tell people this all the time. I said from the very beginning when I started this writing in public or talking to people, I say, look, Emotion is going to be the driver to take us there, but you got to be very careful with emotion. Let it be your driver. Yeah, but but it should not be your vehicle. Yeah, the vehicle is going to be logic and tactics and strategy, but emotion is going to be your driver. It's very, very important. Okay,
Yeah.
so holistic approach is important, but we can never get away from the historical injustice. And then
Yeah.
again, you can go back to our people's lack of awareness and education about their land. Land is wealth, and it's a security issue. It's not only food security; it's actually a security issue for our country because I think it's definitely got a potential for civil strife. You can't just say that it happens in other countries, doesn't happen in ours. Our people can be as brutal as anywhere else. I mean, you just have to look at the history of Yahya Jammeh. Just watch the what's it called, TRRC. You see the criminality, the violence the Gambians are able to met out to each other. So I don't think that this is far-fetched. What happens in South Africa don't happen in the Gambia. It's going to take one single individual getting very angry, and before you know, the whole community gets involved, and we're talking about something else. But anyway, coming back to Dr. Ceesay again, I know in my own humble ways, when I've written like articles in the papers back home, or even the open letter to Dabo, I always mention the cadastral survey. The cadastral survey is very, very important. And maybe this is something you probably can work on and could get like international funding for it. A cadastral survey will help us. Then we know who owns what land, when and how. What lands are available for development? What lands are available for industrial? What lands are available for domestic purposes? What lands are available for farming in Kombo? But the Kombo right now is quite unique. So I know the danger for what's it called, Foni or Kiang or Jara or Badibu. Yes, that might be in the offing, but right now it's Kombo who's at the receiving end of this injustice. So we can never move away from that. Okay, but it's quite important, like he said. Dr. Ceesay said, this land survey is very important. Land registration is very, very important. But we don't have any political. How do you want to call it? It's no political will for it. Yeah. So this is where it comes from. But we can never move. I mean, emotions can never move away from it. Even I get emotional about it. Because if somebody like Mustafa Njai can take so much of my wealth or my inheritance, so of course he gets me mad.
Yeah.
But then so when I come on here, either here or writing or speaking to other people, I'm using this public discourse. I'm trying to force Gambia into a public discourse. It's a national issue. The Gambia, Kombo is part and parcel of the Gambia. So our problem is unique to us right now, but we're never going to fix it by us just screaming and shouting. So that's why we're trying to engage the Gambians and say, hey, guys, stand back and think. We're meant to be brothers. How can you let this happen? One community, we are part of you. How come we are losing our inheritance and we don't even hear anything from you guys? So that's what we're trying to force. So holistic approach, like Dr. Ceesay said, is very, very good. I mean, it's just a bone. We have to flesh in the bone. So it's so many ways of going about it. But there's an injustice here. We have to address that injustice. We can never move away from that. Thank you.
And Ahmed. You see, then Ahmed, can I come in?
Yeah, sure. Before you come in, can I welcome Doctor? 1 minute before you come in, I welcome Farmer Adrame. Farmer is the environmentalist among us. He's always joining us because of his work here. Farmer, can you quickly introduce yourself to Dr. Ceesay and to the viewers of the new TV online? Then we'll continue. Doctor can continue.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you, Dr. Ceesay. Good to have you. My name is Farmer Adrame. I'm from Burfoot, but currently in the United States. I'm an environmentalist. I work for the government of the Gambia for 20 years, specifically at the Department of Parks and Wildlife Management in Abuko, and also the National Environment Agency for 5 years and 15 years, respectively. Thank you so much. Good to have you here. I wouldn't go any further. Probably just continue listening as we go along. Thank you so much.
Thank
Good
you.
to have
Thank
you,
Doctor.
Yeah, Doc, you can continue, please.
Now, I think I totally agree with Dave that you see, when you have historical injustices, if it's not solved, and if there is no closure, it can drag on and lead to conflict in the future at any time. Therefore, we must try to go back and try to rectify those historical injustices. Obviously, a lot of exploitation has happened. Even within Kombo itself, before I go further, it's so complex that the problems in Faraba are different from the problems in Gunjur Berending, are different from the problems that Sukuta is facing with regards to Salaji. That is why I said we need a surgical approach to this to make sure that all the hotspots, and also when it comes to this land commission I'm talking about, the permanent land commission, should open an investigation. Let people come with their complaints, so that we must compensate all those who think that they've been unjustifiably, they lost their land unjustifiably, even historically. If we don't solve those long-term historical problems, it is going to come and haunt us. It's going to catch up with us later in the future, and it's going to be deadly. That is why it's important for us to rectify those historical injustices and go back. Let people come. Let the people of Sukuta come and tell the commission what has happened. Let Brufut come and tell us, look, this is how they took our land. This is what happened. Investigations done. All those who feel that they've been aggrieved and unjustifiably took their land, we find a way to appease them or to kind of compensate them. Just like these things must be done. Otherwise, we'll continue dragging with these problems. But also for me, like I said, the problem must be understood in a very complex way, because they're very different. Even within Kombo is diverse. There's diverse problems within Kombo itself. If you go to Farawa, it's different. Bakawi is different. But the most important thing is, and I agree with Dave, the approach going forward is to make sure we rectify these historical injustices. How do we do that? The Permanent Land Commission will obviously open up investigations, let people come with their complaint. People of Brufut say, you know what? This is how Mustafa Njai took our land. This is what happened. And if if it is proven, which is obviously proven, that they've been really, land is taken from them, we find a way to compensate and make them happy, so nobody feels aggrieved. That is what we have to do going forward. Look at Salaji. The people own the land. Physical planning took their land from them. We cannot let it go like that. Even if you take their land, compensate them in a manner that they'll accept that, okay, government can take the land. And for me, that is the way going forward, Ahmed.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, Doctor, you effectively telling us CA understand that there is a problem in Kombo about land issues, which are diverse, they are different, and you also understand that these land issues are national security issues, and you understand that there are food security issues, and that you also, if we have a CA government, that you're going to solve these problems, in a form of a land commission, which is going to be permanent. Okay, thank you very much.
Also be very proactive, because we also need to find the hotspots as well, because there are simmering tensions elsewhere. Right now, we know about Salaji, Berending, Gunju, we know about Sukuta, Brufut, but there are also tensions elsewhere, and they will explode at any time. So we must go and find and be proactive and find those hotspots and deal with them now before they explode. So it's not being reactive. Wait until it happens and we react. No, we have to be proactive and say, look, what's happening in Gunjur, Berending, what's happening in Brufut, Sukuta, Faraba might happen in Farado or in X or in X. But the most important thing is to demarcate. Demarcation is key, because we don't even know what's happening. And also make sure that people, that sense of injustice must go. People must not feel that they must not be aggrieved. We must find a way to rectify those injustices by ensuring that those who really deserve compensation are compensated. And that is why perhaps a land fund is important, that you need money to do that. And so that's why I say it's a very complex issue that needs a very holistic approach to be able to solve it. But also bold leadership is important here. If you don't have bold leadership, you have a leader who's weak, who wants to pander, who doesn't want to take the right decisive decisions, then there's a problem. You need bold and strong leadership to be able to solve this problem.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. First, I will take a break from the panelists and go to our viewers' comments. Starting from Lamin Esjane. Lamin Esjane thinks, Doctor, you are from Kaur. Doctor is actually a Kombo from Yeah, so he said, thank you very much. Baba Njai said, I believe in the Gambia, the Alcalo and the Ministry of Land and Resources should work hand in hand. So work one in hand, and land is to be bought by a person. This is done by Alcalo and some is to be processed for land registry. I think that's a good comment. Again, the next one is Gilbert Jassy, again from Khartoum. The government, I read that one before, I think. The government is saying, yeah, okay, you can go to Kewa, see this comment, then I go back to, I think the Alcalo should be upgraded to someone who has a professional degree in ecology, environment studies, and economic management, and that land sales should involve personnel from Alcalo. Inland revenue, social security, fiscal planning, and policing is that even should not be. I'm not sure if that's how the CS Alcalos will be, but that's a very ambitious recommendation. Okay, to Dilbert Diasi again, Combo contribute more resources to any region in the Gambia, ranging from timber, sand, bauxite, rum farm, gravel, etc. This is very rich region in the Gambia with a lot of educated people, but we continue to think that political parties are far away will solve our problem. Let's form our own political parties to change the status quo. A political leader from Basel can't solve the problem of Bunyur because it is far away from it. Doctor, do you agree with that?
I don't agree with that. I think
Mm.
you see, Combo is part of Gambia.
Mm,
It's a very integral part of Gambia.
mm,
Gambia cannot be Gambia without Combo, obviously. I mean, I know some will not be happy, but I think the approach is national. Let's think national. Let's try to solve our problems
mm,
using a national approach. Because for me, I tell you something. The problem of Combo is not only Combo's problem. Because if Combo explodes, the
mm,
Gambia will explode.
Mm.
If there's conflict in Combo, people in Basse cannot go about their business. I don't even understand my point.
mm,
And like you rightly said, Combo is a melting point today. I mean, Combo is the place where everybody lives. Everybody, people from Basse, from Nyomi, from everybody lives in Combo. So for me, I think it's a national approach. I think what we need is not a leader who comes from Combo or Basse or from Bansang or Funi. What we need is a leader who can apply bold, decisive leadership to find the solution to Combo's problem, to make sure the historical injustices are solved and rectified, to make sure the problems of today are solved and find solutions to make sure in the future we don't have these problems. And like I said, the land of Combo doesn't belong to us this generation. It also belongs to generations yet unborn. What do we have for them? What do we leave behind for them? So all these things should be part of the thinking. And for me right now, my main concern is how do we ensure we rectify the historical injustices that because people feel aggrieved. I can tell you that people of Combo feel aggrieved that their land has been taken from them without following proper processes, without them being compensated, and in fact, in a way that is even in a very bad way. So we need to solve those issues as well and make sure that going forward we create institutions, strong institutions that will ensure the way land is sold, the way land is managed, and the way land is used in the Gambia. Otherwise, we'll be having a lot of problems about the land issue in the future.
yeah. Farmera,
Yes.
you are late to come, but before we move to part two of this program, which in environment, do you have any comments so far of since you've been here?
Actually, I was
Yes.
listening all this since from the beginning. I think my brother
Okay.
from Brufut, Lamin DF,
Yeah.
and Dr. Conte, they actually spoke at length about the land
Mm,
issues. So
yes.
just to beat time, I would just go straight into environmental questions because I
Okay.
understand doctor's father used to work for forestry department before. And then
Yeah.
doctor, the Gambia is increasing in size. The population of Gambia is increasing. And currently we have about 66 forest parks in the Gambia. And some of these forest parks are not well demarcated. This means the boundaries are not well defined. And then we have problem of people encouraging into these protected areas. And then recently, we have also seen the increase in number of real estate companies coming into the Gambia. And if you look at the Forestry Act, any naturally grown tree belongs to the state. So this means that if somebody, whether individual or either government allocated land to a business, before they clear any vegetation, they need to take a permission from the forestry department because the tree that is naturally grown on that area does not belong to anybody. It belongs to the states. So if you want to cut down that tree, either to create a space for your house, then you need to pay for that tree. You need to compensate for the damage that you've done. And then we have seen that that is being neglected in the country. Real estate companies are going everywhere and then bulldozing all the vegetation cover. And then, without taking the proper environmental procedure. And this is a big concern because according to the last forest assessment that was conducted in 2009, 2010, we have lost over 97,000
Yeah,
hectares
yeah,
of forest cover. And that
yeah.
was 10 years ago. and we are actually due to do another assessment. So you can imagine how much we have lost the last 10 years combined with what we lost the other 10 years ago. So this means our forest cover is actually declining. And this is having an impact on the livelihood of our farming community, because without no trees, there will be no rain. And then recently, we have also seen the government of the Gambia, attacking forest parks. Like Bijulo is a good example. They bring that IOC conference center, and they're supposed to do an environmental impact assessment. They did not do any of those. They bulldozed 7 hectares of the Bijulo Forest Park and bring in that international conference center, which is no doubt is going to be a big thing for the government. It's going to bring a good thing for the for our country. But we have environmental procedures that are being ignored by our government day in, day out. And these are the very resources that we depend on to encourage or promote tourism in our country, because the Gambia depend on tourism. And then Bijulo Forest Park is one of the hotspots for tourism right now. And we have very endangered species like the primates. It's endangered species. We have only 1,000 of them living right now in the whole sub-region. And Gambia lucky to be one of those countries with a good number of red colobus population. And without an environmental impact assessment, now those monkeys are loitering all over Senegambia, jumping over the fences, trying to look for leftover foods to feed. So clearly, the environmental violation in our country is becoming increasingly alarming. I'm just wondering, Doctor, if Citizen Alliance come into power, you come into our government, what are your strategies to ensure that our forest cover is protected, not only protected, but also how can we restore the degraded environment? So that, we fight the effect of climate change. We increase our resilience, to the impact of climate change in the country. So that will be my first question, Doctor. I know there are other environmental issues, but because of time, we can stop that.
Sure. I think thank you very much, Famara. That's a very important issue you've raised. This has been one of the things that's very close to me, environmental issues. First of all, we will understand that the environment is also a security issue. I know Ahmed and the others will say, I like to say security issue. Homer Dixon, a scholar, said that future wars will not be based on ethnicities or race, it will be based on environment. Water, environmental degradation, climate change will lead to future conflict. So it has a potential security implication. But I think most importantly is to empower and equip environmental workers. Because one of the things, if you want the people to do their work, if you want the environmental workers to protect, and you must give them capacity. If we don't give you capacity, the training, right equipment, the right mode to do your work, then there is no point. I think that's why the political will should start, by making sure that the ministry, the agency, environmental agency is equipped, is strengthened, is given more capacity, environmental workers given more powers, because most of the environment are not given powers. And they are doing a lot of work. And government, apart from that, now we also need to do an inventory again. You mentioned something very important. We've lost 97% of our forest cover. That was 10 years ago. Now, currently, when I pass Brikama Forest, my heart sinks. They've cut down all the trees. So for me, I think it's to strengthen the environmental agency, come up with new institutions that can be forward-thinking to ensure that our forest cover are protected, equip and empower our environmental workers, especially our forestry workers. Because sometimes when I pass along Salaji Forest Park, I see the forestry officer coming to ensure that there is no encroachment. But he has to walk. He doesn't even have the right equipment. So we need to make sure that we use technological innovation. We digitize all our forestry, we put them into one system, so we know these are our forest parks and we have to protect them. But also, you mentioned something very important. I was one of the people who were in fact demonstrating at Monkey Park when they decided to transform that place into a I didn't like it. Because why? Gambia depends on its ecosystem. And currently, Gambia has over 500 bird species in that country, which makes bird watching a key part of our tourism sector. But they are leaving, they are migrating, because we are cutting down all the things that make them stay in the Gambia. It's not there anymore. I would have preferred, even though the conference center is good, I would have preferred to have a more sustainable approach to development. Why don't you build the conference center in Bonto Island? Transform Bonto Island in Conference Island, whereby you build state-of-the-art conference center, which is environmentally friendly, just like Jamñajo, so that people can come and do tourism and conference in Bonto Island or somewhere island and leave that area, because that area should be protected. So I think it's to also have the correct legal frameworks to ensure these estate agents, sometimes they piss me off. Excuse me for my language, but they're not regulated. They do whatever they want to do. We must come up with strict regulation to regulate the estate agents and make sure that laws, legal frameworks are put in place to protect our trees. Anybody who is found cutting down the trees. So I was in Kiang a couple of months ago. The amount of bush burning I see in Kiang is serious. I wanted to blame the forest officers, but no, it's not their fault, because they also need to be given the resources to do their work. If you don't give them the equipment, the cars, to mobile, and so they cannot do their work. So for me, basically, just to answer your question, we'll take it serious, because it's a security issue. Also, it affects, because anything that we do at Citizens Alliance, our every policy, we have what they call the future generations consideration. Whatever we do, we consider future generations as how it's going to impact future generations. Our policy on the environment has to consider future generations. Our policy on infrastructure, the same thing. So for us, future generations must come and find proper forestry cover in the Gambia. We must protect the environment for them. We must use our land sustainably, but most importantly, it has also to do with climate change and agriculture. Our agriculture cannot work if you don't have proper climate regulation. So all these things must come, but the most important thing is to equip, strengthen the institutions that are going to make sure they protect the environment, and that is the forestry department or the environment agency.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very comprehensive answer. And I know Farmer has a lot of questions. I also have some questions, environmental questions. But I'll give a chance to Dr. Conte to also, if you have any comments in what Dr. has just said about for protecting and forest cover and also environment.
Well, this is why it's always good to engage each other. So CA has a wonderful policy on environment, even though I tend to disagree with CA on the Cumberland issue. But that is the nature of politics. You see, this is one area. No. Allow me to speak. No, let me just speak. What I'm saying, Doctor, is that this is how we can come together and solve our country's problems. We cannot all agree 100%. You know, to be quite candid, you mentioned something that I even was telling someone that when I even rode in a vehicle with your sister, going to work in the morning in Brikama, going in Banjul. And if you look at the forest, which says it's a forest, and now going down there, yes, after you pass Farato, you will cry. They even made a road on the left-hand side, and they dump trash in there. So I was even shocked. Some of the trees were cut down. But I want to go back to demarcation, because you said something which I think we all need to school ourselves. Sukuta, to be quite candid, the land in Serakunda was actually Sukuta's. Okay? And in fact, if you look at Sancheba Sule Job, that was part of Sukuta. Jame changed the dynamics and appointed Alcalo over there. But we don't need to go back to those squabbles, because if we do that, we're gonna bring emotions. I tend to believe that emotions, it is good to show your emotions, because if you don't show your emotions, people will not know where you stand. You highlighted on the Land Commission, which that's what I'm saying, that we cannot agree 100%. It's not possible. But you said something on Land Commission, which I totally agree. But we also want to challenge you, the CA, to ensure that at least we have Kombongas in there, because the current Land Commission doesn't have any.
But the current land commission, is it a permanent commission? The current
no, well, I cannot answer that. Let Barro's government answer that. Just allow me to finish. Barro's government can answer that. All I'm just here is protecting Kombo. I'm a Kombonka. I'm a Gambian. I believe that we also work together to solve the country's problems. But as a Kombonka, I will stand up for the land issue in Kombo. I also disagree with you in terms of expropriation. No one can say expropriation is good. It's exploitation.
I never say it's good.
You're
misinterpreting what I said. It
Yeah, but
happens.
let me finish. Let me finish.
It must follow
Yeah,
due
but
process.
let me finish. You can answer. Let me just finish. You know, we agree almost 90%. I don't know whether you know that,
Mhm.
and I refuse to agree with anyone 100%. So, but again, somebody said here that emotion is the driver. But if you don't use emotion, that is the driver. How are you going to be able to reason? So again, you all have a very wonderful political party, a young political party. And last time you came here, I talked about the fact that we need political education, and you have highlighted a lot of stuff here that most political parties have not even talked about. So this is how you can change people's minds. So when I say if you don't provide anything directive or manifesto on Cumberland issue, we will campaign against. But I'm elated that because you said some things that no politician is doing that, going out there to visit towns and villages, leaving Brikama, going all the way to Lower River Division to see what is happening over there. And those are things that we should have because we cannot entrust leadership of the Gambia to a political party that doesn't even want to do research. And you have shown that. So again, I'm saying that I'm not going to agree with you 100% when it comes to Kombo issue, and I will be emotional when it comes to land grabbing in Kombo, because I grew up on a farm, and so as many of us here, and I saw the land, the rice fields in Bakau when I was a child. I saw uh, farmland in Sukuta, like the Nema area and so forth. All those were furrows and farmlands. So I will, as a child who grew up on a farm, my tuition was paid out of farming. Even my airfare to come here to the United States was paid out of gardening. I will stand up and protect the farming institution in Combo because we don't have any. The only thing now we have is Combo East. So, but again, like I said, Dr. Ceesay, in politics, we cannot agree 100%. But
And
this is
I'll tell you
what,
something quickly, Doc.
yeah,
You
but
must.
let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me tell you one thing. Sometimes in politics, we have to coexist. And you have shown that. Other politicians do not believe in coexistence, but you do. So this is how you will be able to change minds, even though we may disagree on some issues. You see that? I hope
Yeah,
you understand where I'm coming from.
I get your point.
Okay, thank
I think
you.
we're on the same page. Ahmed,
Yeah, thank you
it's
very
also
much. Yeah, Doc, yes,
because
before I go back to
the
that,
dynamics happening in especially in Kombo now. We are selling the land mostly to the Chinese and in the Indians. I don't know whether people are aware of that. In a very clandestine manner, we'll wake up one morning and we'll realize that we've lost most of the land to the Chinese and the Indians. And it
yeah.
reminds me. I don't want to go into details, but the Israel-Palestine situation. And we need to be very, very careful. That is why I say this Kombo issue, we need to really uh, approach it in a very smart and a very strategic way. Because what's happening now, it's sad, it pains me. I was in Brikama the last time, I did some inquiries and realized that we are selling land to the Chinese, all our land, especially in Mandina Ba, around Jiboro, around that end. Basori around that end, and that's serious. We need to also pay attention to that. But again, like I said, just to come back to what Dr. Conte said, for me, expropriation, it happens, but if it's in the public interest and the affected parties are compensated and they accept the compensation, I think for me it happens. For example, today, if government wants to build a housing project, a big hospital in Sukota or Brufut, I mean, there's a way they can expropriate land to do that because in the public interest. And today we are facing the same problem in Brikama. Today, even if you give the people of Brikama trillions of dollars to build a hospital, they cannot because there is no space. There is absolutely no space to build a hospital in Brikama. That is why we are still stuck with a small health center inside a market, which is inside a car park. To get into the health center, you have to go to the car park, inside the market to go to the health center. And ambulances are finding it difficult to even evacuate people from the hospital. These are some of the problems we have faced. For me, going forward, planning is really going forward. And like one of the things I talked about was this community development tax. whereby any land bought or sold in Brufut or Gunjur, there must be a specific tax component called the Common Development Tax. That money goes into the fund of Brufut, development fund for Brufut, that people of Brufut can use to develop, to build hospitals and clinics and schools in that area. And I think all these are innovative ways to ensure that communities feel that their land benefits them. But also, the reserve land issue is important. What do we reserve for future generations? Because as we are going now, I'm afraid that my kids and my grandchildren will never have land, even in Brikama or even in Kombo. They might be forced to rent, because if we sell everything now is being used and sold, then there's a problem.
Thank you very much. Yes, somebody raised Indians and Chinese buying lands here last week, and that's why this platform is here to unearth, these issues that we could be slave in our own lands. I go back to the commentators before. We are dragged back from the environment. We're going to pull you back in again, and I hope Famara is ready to ask more questions about environment. Ahmad Toure, Dr. Ceesay well said, and he said 2021, youth of the Gambia, choose wisely who will be your next president. I think that is very, very important. Sexidia from the US, he said, Sexidia Jada. He's asking you, doctor, how can people be compensated whose inheritance are taken away from them? Most of the people in Brufut, Subuta, and the surrounding lands are taken from them by Jamme and Tough again. And the final one, Doc, really, you are a political guru. You know the contemporary political ideas. So that's a compliment from...
I'll go back. Thank you very much, Ibrahim. I'll go back to the previous question. How do we do the complaint? That is why I said engagement is needed. We need to do media. We need to consult. Let us consult those aggrieved people and see what is the way forward. I don't know if you understand my point. Now, let's imagine today, Brusubi turntable is part of Sukuta, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, all those are part of Sukuta. What do we do with that? Do we go and
That's Brufut.
Bring that? Huh?
That's Brufut.
Turntable is Brufut.
Now, what do we do with that building, that petroleum house? Do we build it? Do we just bring it down? So we need to find a common ground. We need to make sure that we find ways. We engage the affected people. Let us sit on this is about discussion, consultation, mediation. Let us sit on the table and discuss with the affected and say, what is the best possible solution? I don't know if I'm making my point clear.
Yeah,
so we are aware of what's happening in Jam City, the toughs. To be honest, it's pathetic. It pains me when I think of what happened at that place. That is why it's important. We cannot let that slide. We have to go back and see what happened, who did what, who is responsible for what. We cannot allow impunity anymore. People have to be accountable for their action. That is why I said bold, decisive leadership is needed to solve these problems. You cannot have a leader who's already been bought by this cabal of how do you call them, of this cabal of so-called capitalists who control our resources. No, we cannot allow that anymore. We need to make sure that land benefits the people of the Gambia, Kombo land benefits the people of Kombo in one way or the other.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dave. I've been speaking for a while. Dave, if you want to have a take, then we will go exclusively. But we have 10 minutes, but I have to extend time a bit. We are running a little bit late. Doctor, I hope you don't have anything in the next 30 minutes. You don't have anything scheduled in the next 30 minutes? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. I'm asking you, doctor, if you have anything scheduled for the next 30 minutes.
Me?
Yeah, because we have 10 minutes and I want to add another 20 minutes so Farmara can...
Yeah, we can go ahead. We can go ahead. It's an interesting discussion.
Thank you very much. So, Dave, you can come in, please.
Are you talking about me?
Oh, Dave.
Oh, Dave, thank you. Is he there?
It's like Dave is mute or what?
It looks like he's trying to.
Sorry, I muted myself. Sorry, I didn't realize. I am gonna go back to what's it called? What we call the elephant in the room here. In the Gambia, you have one problem, and everything is centered around that. At the center of our problem is poor governance, lack of institutions. Because if you talk about the forest cover, it's depleting. It's scary. It's scary prospect. I'm not that into environment, well, I am actually very familiar with environmental issues, but yeah. So, but you can see, like Farmer gave the what's it called? Farmer gave this example of is it the monkey park around Senegambia? So how could any responsible government actually fought and it can actually do a survey and decided that that's the right location, a proper place to build a conference center? Everything just seemed to be centered around that area, in the coastal area. I always thought that's very, very bad, very, very bad planning. You got to move some of these things away, decentralize. Move them away to Basse, to Bansang. Just move everything away sometimes. Everything is just centered in one place. That's why everybody's moving to Kombo. So we got this rural urban migration. It's like a magnet. Everybody wants to move in. So this is where poor governance comes in again. That's where good governments and institutions come in. So we have an institution, we do human resource planning, town planning, physical planning. Then they can decide effectively where people need to move. They can manage our land, the tiny little resources we have, but we don't have this. So poor governance. And you speak to people who work there, and then they've studied this, and you're like, why is this not being implemented? Again, it comes to lack of political will. But when it comes to politicians, I think in the Gambia right now, I think I could probably be wrong, but I suspect in the Gambia we're gonna be the new thing that's gonna be in town is like coalition governments. I think there's going to be a time whereby you're not going to have one party just basically within the whole majority to form its own government. I think we're going to have partnerships. We're going to have coalitions. So I think that's why it's fundamentally important we have politicians who are actually know what they're talking about. They are very innovative. They can think out of the box. So I think that's why people like Dr. Ceesay it's nice to have him, even though I had more objections. Well, not objections. I had more reservations. When I first heard about his party, I was on the Gambian, what's it called? It's a forum. He's also a member called the Gambian Scholars Forum. And my reaction was like, we don't need this guy to go into politics. This guy is very eloquent. This is a guy a lot of young Gambians look up to. He doesn't need to go into party politics. I thought he is a better role he can play in the Gambia to actually awaken our people, because I could be wrong. And Dr. Ibrahim Ceesay corrected me there. I came out to say that I don't think a lot of Gambians understand politics. But I spoke to Dr. Ibrahim Ceesay. He told me actually they do. I'm still not very convinced. So I think Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, his role would be better. He would better serve the Gambia by trying to educate our people about proper politics. Not this politics for patronage that has been taken so deep root in our country. I think he's doing a wonderful job already, been at university teaching, but I think he could do better. But if he thinks he can juggle both, and I have no doubt he could, then maybe he could do them both. But I think we're gonna be having coalition governments in the Gambia. So it's important we have politicians who are actually aware. They are innovative. They can think out of the box. Yeah, but I can never move away from the land issue. And then the land issue, like I said, there's something, the elephant in the room always is poor governance, lack of institutions. When it comes to Dr. Ceesay mentioning this land, land demarcation, and Farmer mentioned it as well, encroaching. People are encroaching everywhere, and they talk about the Chinese coming to the Gambia to take land. It all goes to the same problem. This poor governance in the country whereby nobody is, you got people, they only serve themselves and their immediate clique and their immediate family. They are just not responsible, not accountable to anybody. So that's the problem we have. So that's a fundamental problem we have. So until we can fix that, we're not going to go anywhere. Gambia has to go back to the fundamental. We have to dig the fundamental and build it proper structure and foundation. Then we can go from there. Otherwise, we're going nowhere. We just patch it. We're just doing patchwork to move on. That's not going to fix our problem. Yeah, it needs a whole holistic approach, like he said, but people need to sit down and we need to have a national conversation about a whole lot of issues. So when we talk about the land issue in Kombo, I always say that to people, I have made no secret of it, that I am trying to force a national debate in my own little way. Yeah, other people can expand on this idea, they can improve upon them, but at least we have in a discussion. I think that's a very good start. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Ahmed, David is right. We need national debate, but I also picked something from what Dave was saying, is that the problems we are having today, the environmental problems in Kombo, has to do with also poor planning and poor governance. Today, 60% of Gambians live in Kombo, not in urban Gambia.
Yeah.
It's West Coast, KMC, Banjul. 60%. Why? Because of mass rural-urban migration. Because while we feel to decentralize and put up proper governance, especially decentralization governance systems, to ensure that basic amenities can be found in rural Gambia. So when people don't have access to healthcare, access to water, access to good education, access to electricity in rural, they come to urban Gambia. And urban Gambia was not planned to house over 1 million people. It's over that, because if our population is 2.3 million and 60% live in urban Gambia alone, it means that over 1 million people live in urban Gambia. Urban Gambia's energy system or energy infrastructure was not built for over 1 million people. Housing was not built, our roads are not built. That is why today there's traffic congestion. Housing prices have gone up, they've gone up by over 100% because the pressure that this migration has put on urban Gambia is huge. Therefore, people need to build houses. That is why they encourage on Saladi Forest Park, Sukuta Park, and most of these forests that we have, and even in Brikama, to build houses. So we need to come up with, I mean, for me, in fact, the Ministry of Local Government and Land is moribund. You see, one of the problems we failed to do since after the colonialists left is to restructure our institutions to serve our purpose, especially our future development aspirations. Look at our ministries that we have. Since Jawara's era, we still have those ministries. They're not forward thinking. We don't need that ministry local government, and we don't even need local government. What local government? We need a ministry for local governance and decentralization. How do we decentralize? We need a ministry for urban planning and rural development. But there's no ministry for urban planning, and urban planning is important because most people are facing this because of there's poor urban planning. With that Ministry of Lands, why should it be there? Why? It should be linked to Ministry of Natural Resources, because land is a natural resource issue, and put up strong, important institutions. So we have to go and look at the whole governance structure of the Gambia, because most of the colonial cobwebs, they're outdated and they cannot serve our current aspirations, our current problems, and even our future aspirations. We need to go back and look at the whole governance structure and come up with new innovative governance structures to help us solve most of these problems that we are facing today, which are to do with land and environment.
Thank you very much. I have one comment and one question for you from our viewers. Then I go back to Farmer to try to start into the environmental issues. Yeah, we admit one of the weaknesses of this panel is gender bias, and also minority groups from the Kombo are not properly represented, and we are working on that. One of the ladies we approached and she ran away, but she promised to come back, is Madeleine. Ceesay, she said, until we take ownership of our problems, I'm afraid leaders will continue to take us for a ride. We are selfish people, self-interest over the nation, and a clear example is for anyone to welcome such a crowd during this pandemic is just pathetic. I think he's talking about the meeting in Hakaran Road in the middle of a major pandemic by President Barrow. But this one, Buba Kasama, probably from Pirang, he said, Gambia Shrimp Farms is composed of 53 ponds. Each pond is 400 square meters. The land is abandoned since 1999. Pirangas have no rice fields. Salt water has risen, and mango trees are dying. You know, so salt water, and it's actually around that end. Then Dr. Ceesay, what is your take on this? What can you do if we have a CA government? Because this is like a wasted land. 52 ponds, each measuring 400 square meters. And now because of those ponds, there is salt intrusion, their orchards, mango trees are dying. You know, I think that needs a sort of rehabilitation.
Well, that's one of the problems of youth unemployment in Pirang is solved. I mean, young people must be engaged, obviously. And these are some of the things that we can use to engage young people. I mean, give them the opportunities, invest in young people, to invest in some of these activities, money-making activities, to be able to be engaged. So I think for me, that's what I would say, that with serious political will, we can solve most of our problems in the Gambia. This is an opportunity to ensure young people in Pirang have a vocation, they are engaged. So I think we'll have to, and not only Pirang, we have Jahali Pacha, we have most of these projects that are really, really gold mines that are just laying there wasting because government is not serious. Government doesn't know what to do with them. I think any serious government have to go and look back at these projects, these gold mines, like these ponds, these fish ponds, Jali Pachar, most of these projects that have died down, and see how we can reactivate them by engaging through public-private partnerships and make sure they are youth-friendly. Because today our population, 60% over are young people. Young people need jobs. We need to engage them. We need to find opportunities for them. And for me, herein lies the opportunities in the agro industry, in the marine industry, in all of our resources. There is a huge potential. Look at what's happening in Batokunku and Sanyang, the so-called black sand. What is Gambia benefiting from it? Our youth are not benefiting from it. They are destroying that environment in Batokunku and Sanyang to mine that black sand. Yet government is not gaining anything from it. The people of Badapunka are not getting anything from it, and they are destroying our environment. And those sand, they are limited. Altogether, that's 600,000 metric tons. What is remaining now, we don't even know. It's almost gone. Before next 10, 15 years, everything is gone. And what they live in as a depleted environment, a destroyed environment, and more poverty in that region. So I think we need to have serious governments to understand these serious problems and find serious solutions to these problems.
Doctor, I am from that place. I was born in Pirang, and can I just speak just a few seconds?
Yeah, so quickly before I call on Farmer. Quickly, Doctor.
Doctor, I'm glad that Mr. Gassama highlighted the scam issue in Pira. I was born in Pira, and I even walked through those rice fields. By the way, Doctor, you okay?
Are you born in Berending or Pira?
Well, you mix them up. We say Pira and Berending. Okay, Dr. Ceesay, I would like for you to pay a visit there, please. And okay. It's very easy to find. You don't even have to ask around. When you get into the main entrance, go all the way to the end of the village. But I want to warn you, once you get to the bridge, you won't be able to go over because the bridge is broken. And the president has promised to fix that. But on your left-hand side, as you are going towards Faraba, all those rice fields have been abandoned, and scam industry was the one that came in, and they pumped salt water in there. My mother's rice fields, my grandparents' rice fields, uncles, aunties, and so forth, all their rice fields are gone. So now the people of Pirang, if they actually want to go to rice fields, guess where they have to go to? Mm-hmm. They have to go to Faraba. So please take a visit there.
Okay.
And again, this company is still there, and our people have not been compensated for the environmental damage that they did to our rice fields. So no one in Pirang can actually, on the left-hand side, they can grow any rice because all that is salty.
Hmm. So I will visit.
Please pay a visit there. And then you'll see for yourself the damage that has happened to our people.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Kazama, for bringing this important issue up. Farmer.
Yes, Dr. Ceesay, our fisheries is worth hundreds of millions of dollars every year. And then fisheries is our biggest strength right now as a nation. And with our fisheries resources, we can actually build our economy, and we can also empower our local fishermen, and we can also even reduce unemployment in our country. But this is the area, this is the sector that is being ignored or being overexploited, under the watchful eyes of our government. Because looking at what, the Chinese fisheries, the fish meal companies are doing in the Gambia, the government can invest in that area, and then, get more revenue, to build our economy, and then also reduce poverty in our coastal communities. But this is an opportunity that we are letting it go. I'm not going to talk about the environmental damages that the company is doing. But you know that we, the coastal community, I come from Brufut. My mother was selling fish, in Brufut. As a young boy at the age of maybe 7 or 8 years old, we can go to school and then go back to the beachside and help the bananas. And we got plenty of fish to go home, And then this is the resources that our poor people are depending on for their livelihood. But the government is giving away these resources for a very, very, very little amount because our fish license is one of the cheapest in the sub-region. And then our navy is not that empowered. They are not that very strengthened enough to monitor our coastal areas. And then now, if you talk to Minister of Fisheries, they're telling you that yes, there is a lot of fish in our water, or these fish meal companies are operating everywhere in the sub-region. But compare the Gambia to Mauritania and Senegal, their navy is more equipped than us. So we cannot just say that these things are happening in Senegal, so we should also have it in Gambia. I think that is absolutely a missed opportunity that we are actually overexploiting. I don't know what the CA is going to think about that, and then, see how much, we can regularize this fishing, overexploitation in our waters. In your statement, you also mentioned about urban governance and urban planning. I think this is very, very important too. Looking at our capital city, Banjul. Banjul is some areas in Banjul is 0.5 meters below sea level, which means that any increase in precipitation, some areas in Banjul is going to be overflooded, as we already seen it happening in the greater Banjul area. So what do you think? How do you see the Banjul as a capital city in the next 30 years? Because you look at the coastal erosion happening in the coastline between Banjul to Khartoum. In 20 years ago, the government spent over 20 million US dollars to a Dutch company, Royal Haskoning, to have the Royal Coastal Protection done in Banjul and in the Senegambia area. And then still, this is happening. And this is because in Kombo South, we are depending so much on sand for construction, but we don't have any alternative for sand for construction. And then the more sand we remove from Kombo South, the more it's having effect in Banjul and in Senegambia areas. So this is very, very important in terms of urban planning. So with these two, fisheries and urban planning, how do you think the Citizen Alliance is going to make a big change in that area, what the government is failing to do right now?
I think, like I've always said, one of the key sectors that we see as strategic, especially in terms of development and youth employment, is the marine sector or fisheries sector. Currently, we are aware that government has signed some very bad contracts, both with the EU, with Senegal, and with other partners. And we will revisit all these contracts and ensure that Gambia's national interest is served, and also the interest of future generations, and also they're also sustainable. When it comes to the Chinese fish meal factories, personally, I think we should close them down. They are very exploitative. They bring no value to Gambia. They should be closed because one, they are not only exploiting our labor, they are also depleting our fisheries stock, but also destroying our environment. These are the three impacts they are having. Now, one thing we should always focus on, we at CA, is that Gambia's resources must be harnessed locally. We must have a sovereign approach to our resources. Today, Gambia needs what they call multi-million-dollar fishing plans. We must be able to process our own fish. We must be able to empower local fishermen to fish and supply our fisheries plants, processing plants to process our fish. We supply our hotels. We supply our markets. The rest we export. By making also, we go into public-private partnerships to buy fishing trolleys and make sure we educate and teach young people how to fish and pay them good money, let them fish to supply our processing. So we need to take ownership. Basically, the catchword is take ownership of our marine resources. We cannot continue, any partner who wants to come in and sign a deal with us to use to really have access to our marine resources. It must be based on our own interest. It must be a win-win situation. There must be stringent regulations. But like you said, you rightly said, we must also empower the Gambia Marine Services, the Marine Forces, because look, sometimes at night at 3 a.m. they'll see on their radar that a fishing trolley has encroached in our territorial water, but they cannot pursue because they don't even have fuel in their boats, or they don't even have boats to pursue those. So we need to make sure that our marine security is strengthened, but also we provide ways and means to take ownership of our marine resources, empower local fishermen, create the value chain, which is the fish processing plants. I cannot imagine why we should be even today. We are even buying sardines to come to the Gambia. We can make our own sardines. We have those fish in the Gambia. We should be able to supply our own hotels, our own markets. And unfortunately today, fish is scarce in the Gambia because we've really, without paying attention, given away all our marine resources to foreign partners who are taking away all the fish. You go to our markets, we cannot even, our women, our mothers and sisters cannot even buy fish in the market. It is expensive. I saw one for $400 or $500. That is unacceptable. So we have to take ownership of our fish resources, empower our local fishing actors, but also invest in it through public-private partnerships. And so we have fishing trolleys, employ young people in these fishing trolleys to supply most our, obviously, processing plants that will be processing our fish. When it comes to urban planning, massive failure, obviously. We did not plan ourselves properly. Look at Banjul today, not well planned. I think what Gambia needs is an innovative plan. We need to think of what to do with Banjul. Do we have the capital still in Banjul, or do we move it? And even if it stays there, what do we do with Banjul? We have the port in Banjul as well. And like you rightly said, economic activities in Kombo South, when it comes to the sand, will have an impact on most of the coastal areas. And today, if you go to the beach, you'll see the impact of erosion, coastal erosion, from not only in Kombo South, but all the way through that coast, all the way to Banjul. You'll see that we've really destroyed our environment so much so that even our beach side today, the way and manner in which the sand was nice and neat and clean, is not there anymore. Everything is destroyed. So we need to have come up with new ways of how we really make sure we rectify or we arrest this coastal erosion happening, but also look at Banjul, not only Banjul, but also its environment, because Banjul is getting bigger. And if you look at the mangroves and that area, that whole area in New Jersey and going towards Banjul, there are ways in which you can engage and use those areas in a more sustainable manner so that the pressure is not only on Banjul or in the Serekunda. So there are ways in which we can do proper urban plan. That is why I say we need an urban planning minister, an urban planning institution that will be staffed by competent people who understand how to do proper urban planning and find solutions to most of these problems.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, very much for that in-depth answers. Just to put numbers to these figures, Golden Lead, which is the smallest among these three fish mill factories, their maximum capacity fish available is 3,000 tons per day. That is equal to like 20,050 kilogram bags of fresh fish. So if you take the saver side, you say these three fish mill factories on daily basis, they need like 9,000 tons of fresh fish. That's like 60,050 kilogram bags of fish. And every week, each one of them export 20,000 bags of fish meal powder. That's like 60,000 bags of fish meal powder every week. And how they manage to get that fixed, they contract most of these fishermen, fisher folks, that they don't need the money, they want the pay in fish. So they have the first option. When they go out to sea, when they come, they have to sell it to the Chinese folks. So it's the leftover that is sold to the fishmongers and also our ladies. This is where the shortage comes. So David, on a final note, we're in final rounds of you hear Dr. speak, you hear farmer issues. What's your final take on this conversation today? You know, and if you have anything as one of the victims of this land issue, you have anything that might be Dr. Benticton and you want to put that across to him, if one day we have a CA government, you want, how do you want them to address those issues? Doctor, I think we are muted. You are muted.
Is it me or Dr.
No,
Ceesay?
Dave is muted. After Dave is muted.
Okay.
Is it me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I always mute myself really. So yeah. All right. When I'm not speaking, I mute myself. Yeah, I was saying, Doctor and I seem to be on the same page on a lot of issues tonight. And I think I don't know what that maybe it's just mere coincidence. Yeah, but I'm very very keen who the politicians we have in the Gambia, even the current government, so that they need to try and implement some cadastral survey, land registry, and land commission. I think that's quite important. There are historical injustices where we can never let them go. We have to fix those because land is more than just land is very valuable. As you say, it's one of the assets you can pass on from one generation to the other, really, and it always goes up in value. Land is one thing that never decreases in value. So I think if we look at it in that way, I think it probably will help us a lot. Gambian politicians, I'm actually I'm a strong believer. We just need to get institutions in place whereby we get like technocrats to come and run that country. I'm a very strong believer in that because I don't think Gambian politicians they fit for purpose. With all due respect to them, what we've seen so far. But I mean, probably with Dr. Ceesay and others coming up, we might have a new crop of politicians. They might bring us something new with Gambian needs. Probably we need that very very urgently. But if we have to go back, what we have so far from Jawara's time to now, it leaves a lot to be decided. I think we still got a very long way to go. So yes, Dr. Ceesay, like I said, he got substance. He's just not talking just for the sake of talking. I believe that. But how is he gonna get the masses to follow him? How is his message getting through? Is it only the urban youth getting the message? I mean, it would be very very good for us if the youth can listen to him and actually take his message on board because they form the majority of our population in the Gambia. Really, the youth. I think they form about 50 or 65% of the population are under 35 years of age. So those are people. If Dr. Ceesay's message can get to them, I think we have a very promising future. But if the Gambia stays the way it is, whereby only got the older people getting engaged in politics and voting, then we still got our work cut out. So, but I'm going to remain optimistic and say that yes, all these problems in the Gambia, we might be able to fix them, but it needs a change of mindset. We need to change institutions which we don't have. We need to go down a deep down root and then rebuild our foundation from there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dave. On that same line, Alpha MK Law, Dr. Ismail Ceesay is a blessing to Gambia, and I wish Gambians don't let the opportunity of himself in this country slip away come 2021. His understanding of issues and approach to solutions are amazing. So that's a fan of CA, I believe. Okay, Dr. Ponte, on a final note.
Well, again, like I said, I really appreciate Dr. Ceesay for coming here, and we started bad, but that's the nature of it. We can agree or disagree, but do you know that, Dr. Ceesay, almost 10 items that you mentioned, I'm in agreement with almost 60 to 70%. You indicated, yeah. Because no, we in Kombo, we are not going to sit idle and allow politicians to come and promise us heaven and they gave us hell. I don't want to put you on the spot, but you said something to the effect of the Ismail in Gunjur. I want to disclose that my first cousin is a beneficiary of the Ismail, and I spoke against it. And the environmental effect that is happening to the people of Gunjur and beyond is very terrible. You highlighted something about the black sand mining, which, in my view, should not even take effect in the Gambia because it has irreversible damage to the environment. The gentleman who actually is doing the black sand mining, he has rice fields in URR. So basically, what is happening with Mr. Jawara is that destroy rice fields in Kombo to make Kombonkers dependent on rice fields from URR. I'm not trying to pit one region against the other. You see, for some of us who are here in the diaspora, we have the opportunity to send money to our family members. But how about our children? They won't have the orientation to send money. So if you are from Bakau, now you have to go to the store to buy rice. If you are from Profut, you have to go to the store and you can name towns upon towns upon towns. And someone even told me that in Brikama, the indigenous rice that is grown in the Gambia is more expensive than the imported rice. So, Dr. Ceesay, we need you to galvanize Gambians, to educate Gambians. And that's why the first time when you came in, I said we need a political education. You tend to disagree with me. But I do believe now that political education is needed in the Gambia. So we hope that you can continue on with your message because I've not seen a politician in the history of the Gambia that will take his or her time to go and study. I just made a plea to you to go to Piran to see the damage yourself, and you're willing to go there. So these are things that we need in our country, and I hope that you can come back here another time. But I wanna end here because you talked about the sale of land to non-foreigners, and according to Ami Bensouda, she indicated that Section 7, subsection 10 of the State Lands Act limits the rights of non-Gambians to land. The section is somewhat retrospective and it is constitutionally questionable as it affects existing rights without due process and contrary to Section 19 of the Constitution. It says here that the strategy seems to be to limit ownership of land to non-Gambians. And do you know that maybe you can check? There's a couple, African American couple. They call them. I don't want to disclose their names here, but if you do want to get it, and they are somewhere in Sanya. And according to this control here, a foreigner can only own 2,500 square meters of land. So we want you to do some investigation on that. Foreigners who are going out there buying land and they're going over the maximum requirement, and whether they are. And then again, another area too, I would like for you to do some investigation on foreigners who are coming in to buy land and apportioning them and selling them to Europeans. And there's a black lady from England who has done that. So I can be here, take all my retirement money and go and buy land in the Gambia and then resell it. So please help us on that because it limits a foreigner to only 2,500 square meters of land. Why should we have non-Gambians coming into Gambia buying acres upon acres of land and then apportioning them and selling them to Gambians? So please do help us. We need your help on that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Conte, as usual. Don't disappoint. Farmer, on the environmental side, what's your final take and what would you want to see a government do? I think we are muted, Farmer. Yeah, Farmer, you are muted. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Ceesay. That was a very good, discussion, deliberation from you, and I'm really satisfied with some of the answers you have given me. And I'm sure that the future of our country lies in the hands of the young people. And I'm glad that you have taken this bold step, to put your, to come into politics and then step forward, and because this is what we need in our country. We need young people. We need people with brilliant ideas to come up with a new strategies, new ideas how to move our country forward. And I quite agree with some of the in your strategies of CA in terms of on environmental issues. So I'm sure this is not be the last time to meet you because I see you in most of the forums or most of the platforms. You are engaging the Gambian people, and I think this is brilliant because you are always ready whenever people need you. Whenever the Gambians need to speak to you, you are always there. So I like that approach from you definitely. So keep it up because the more you engage people, the more you know concerns of the citizens, and also it challenge you as well to find solutions, to find strategies to some of the questions, because you might not have the answers of every questions that we ask. But the more we ask questions, the more it allows you also to go and sit down and see, hey, I think the question I was asked the other day was a very good one, and it also make you to go and find solutions. So I'm really impressed with your performance and your answers. So obviously we have a lot of big environmental challenges. There are questions that I did not answer yet, but as time goes on, I'm sure we'll find time, either one to one or either personally can, send you some, some issues that I have concerns with, and then you can look at it and see how you can help, because without environmental sustainability, and this is what Gambia is forgetting, because our economy depends on the environment, our agriculture depends on environment, tourism depends on environment, and even our health depends on environment. So without environmental sustainability, we have very key sectors of our economy. They can proceed. And this is what we are lacking. If you look at the National Development Plan, environment is given a back seat in the National Development Plan. It is actually embedded. There is no thematic area or thematic focal point in the National Development Plan that highlights on environmental issues. So it's kind of embedded in tourism and agriculture, which I feel environmental issues should be a thematic area of its own, to help our National Development Plan implementation. Yeah, but thank you so much. Glad to have you. And then I wish you all the best of luck. I know as time goes on, we'll get to know more about Citizen Alliance and what you guys do. And because that's the end of the day, that's all we need. What can bring our forward? What ideas do we have to engage each other, especially when you see the young people in the forefront, of politics, trying to make a change in our country. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, Doctor, finally, this is yours. I have to apologize. We keep you a little bit longer, but I think that's fine with you. Just one comment, then I will let you close this program, and you can say anything to your supporters and also viewers of Gojo TV online that CA is the party for 2021. Elizabeth Gomez, land use management is fundamental tool in development in Gambia. We have acute land shortage. A land use plan is needed to ensure that its optimal utilization, urban and rural development. Currently, Gambia's land resources are utilized in an inefficient and unsustainable manner, which limits the profitability of land and infrastructure. So you can comment on that and also.
Yeah, I think the key word is on sustainability. I think that has always been my concern. The way we are using land today is not sustainable, to be honest. That is why there's a need for a permanent land commission to come up with modern ways of land management and land use in the Gambia. That's key. But just to close, I'd like to thank the panelists. As Famara has been I've learned a lot from Famara. Like I've always said, that sometimes the people have the solutions to the problems. The people on the ground, people like Famara, people who are working on a daily basis with these issues, they have the solutions to the problems. And the conversation must continue, Ahmed. This is what Gambia needs. We need to be talking about these issues. We need to be discussing to find solutions to these problems. This is not about politics, to be honest. It's not about partisan politics. It's not about me or you. This is about Gambia and our future, and the future of our children, and our own future. Because today, I mean, most of us, or most of you who are living in the diaspora, you would want to go back home at some point. To go back home to what? And that's why it's important that this thing is not Dr. Ceesay's fight. This thing is every Gambian's fight. And I believe that I have said it before in the previous discussion, that it is us who can change the Gambia. It's a moral obligation for us to engage in any way, either politically or in any way, but we must change the trajectory of our country. The way the country is going, we cannot let it go like that. 57 years of independence, we have not been able to do anything for ourselves. Imagine, 57 years, let us do an inventory of the Gambia, Ahmed. Inventory. One traffic light, that's why we say traffic light, ngaben traffic light, being a muntolam, because traffic light clean in Gambia. 20 will clean, Ninko 20 will bring a muntolam, because 20 will kill in Gambia. Ninko stadium bring a because stadium kill in Gambia. What do you Gambia? 57 years of independence. Mulman just in Kurang Sotono. Come for the Kiang, Foni, Johnny Kurangote Walla Sokono. Even if you look at Ghana town, just behind Bruford, there's no electricity, no water behind in Bruford. Ning Sama Busata, 4 days, Madiana and Kolboka Fintino Madiana. Because Sila TJ. And Madiana is just behind Bruford. 57 years of independence. Nko there's a Minister of Agriculture and Monfandani. What is the purpose of the Minister of Agriculture? So, Nko Minister of Culture. Na culture mfota la lesan. Malon fansan bedame. So isi problem mo le siata pour mo kali o problem o solve no. Doctor I o problem o solve no la de. They will bring on the table ala ideas all ay minul long Ahmed ya fenang Famara ya fenang Dr. Conte ya fenang nga bankota nga de da nga samba janta ka samba dame. Banin ko matula politician ol drombulo. Nga fuko political class tento no. The politicians are us. We have to make a choice to either because ntaman la fi ngata fong 85 years soto. Nga koma jube nga fo ntenga mune achieve te Ismaila. Nga na PG soto le. I'm successful. Nga koda killing fula soto nga lo. What about tela mole mune achieve na londo yen na mol na fa monella. Nga mo jelle bondi foire ya kono. What have I done for my na londo ay na mol impact nyadi le. That's gonna make me feel bad. So ntol mimbe karandal ntol mi alon ko gammel ni ngolon karandal mu fondin leti. It's our moral responsibility. Andu nga fal ning ko this generation ninga na nek ninga nyil feel abanta tak. So ngala nyinto Dr. Bulu ngatu Ahmed Bulu wala ngatu Dave Bulu. Mbele nyanta ka wuli ngaji ko sambe damente jihadu le sita ka bank ka kele banko ka duko ka banko andu nga kele jorang sotole buko londo wala ka banko samba ntol nga sotole altol mbe nga sotole al nga nga banko doku momo patio pati diate etaji ne a fil ko tebe kunna UDP leta UDP na fil ko be kunna NPP ta wala CA bari min kumata wolonko mbe nga nga kafunga banko doku because abedamente banko kata nyame I can tell you I'm very scared and worried about the future of that country. And I'm very, very serious. We are facing an environmental disaster. I can tell you that. Then the people on the dulato ka san mine dame yetaji quareto. Nimfora quareto from Kalefka Kombo. Nka minje ani mol ka minja man killing. Tanna forest soldier be ka forest so destroy nyame. Tanna bako naji be every night 300 fishing boats like kanna territorial waters encroach every suto kanna nyewota ka samba na ndingol montare karandika nyama nto when we are young kulule no there are certain things bare sa ndingol bane ndro mbedo kan lolum dulati je damel lo gal at least nto la time gunjuru sa community center wala brikama we can go play basket library sol bitel sign there is no single library isi Kombo be yai you might not even find a single library. Not a single, it's a Kombo BI. You might not find a single public library or a single community development hub where young people can go after school to go and hone or develop their skills or their talent to get engaged. Among sort of football filo for among sort of kotenke. Kids don't have anywhere to play. Ya be wafi, ya belo essential and in store. Kids have nothing to do. So no country can live like that. Wana kumatale. Nga na mbenga kunga kafunyoka nga politiko ke asay right now nyimmanke politiko ti nyimu Gambia lati ndingol na future because nimmo ko do jantu babudu ibe la flaka seyda pension ka Gambia but to go to what a country me alon ko there's no proper healthcare facility a country me alon ko there's nothing ibe mo nekelaji andi mo mo na fika ko do jam foi fatu babudu so la na kumatale mbenga na nga kunga kafunyo nga jube mbe bankambia safe la nyameng going forward nte ngawdo na soto amende min fola me mo be konton na moy lal ana altol mal be konton na me kombon kol be konton na Dr. Conte e wada pina ko ma kon fam folo de
mo jama malon ko berendina warta piran ya ko ni la do na piran ko ye bon yo bon de silo jale ni ko la bon te yo sulande ngo jale that was a former Trans-Gambia highway that takes you to Pirang. But if you are coming in the main entrance that you get in, all that is berending. So Pirang actually is all the way inside. Yeah, but Pirang the Tobota. But yes, I was born in Berending. Thank you, Mr. Manja. Mr. Manja, I was born in Berending. But simplicity, we say Pirang.
Thank you very much, Dr. Once again, and thank you to
alnga kacha continue nga kumanga diamo nanda mol kundindi nga kacha nga mol siata Gambia mankiling asiata le every sector has a problem and bingana kumada wolonko Gambia is worse off today than 30 35 40 years ago sabu konto we are progressing mantara advancing and that's a problem yo ala barka baake
Doctor,
Thank
your
you.
assessment of Gambia really raised my blood pressure, and I believe most of I will monitor it from the commentators. That will close. I think that should bring our blood pressure down a little.
So you are emotional too, right?
No, I am. His assessment
Thank
of
you.
Gambia, because this guy is going to place it or not, that Gambia is retrogressing, and also, the challenges are facing is everywhere.
Yeah.
So Lamin Kere Jani from UK said, our country needs this level of politicians who are ready to come forward and debate issues, not those that are reluctant to come forward. Keep up, Dr. Ceesay. Abdul Aziz Dabo, I'm impressed, not with Dr. Ceesay or Ahmed or any other, but I'm so impressed with the whole setup. I think David is behind that, and Dr. Conte, our brothers with high level of education, devote their time to discuss sensitive issues of well-being. This level of involvement by people of your status is really what Gambia needs. And Sekou Mane said, I'm sad because of government didn't value education. We have educated and talented young Gambians, but Gambians prefer uneducated person and inexperienced person to lead them rather than educated and experienced Gambians. And Salam Sami A. Flex said, I've always these guys, I always like these guys need to lead Gambia. You can see the wisdom and the vision he have for the country. Thank you. And Sami AK again, we must now start talking about the critical issues and we are facing. I'm glad to see someone like him talking about it. Thank you so much, Dr. Ceesay. And Carl Boyan, I think he's from Brufudu. When I hear this Strasaf, he said, you are right, Dr.
That's my uncle.
They want to steal our Strasaf from us. I think that's
Yes.
to stop them. So thank you once again, and also to the viewers. Because you give us the encouragement that together we can build this nation. As Doctor said, what Gambia's situation now is beyond politics. If you see a nation going haywire because a swarm of bee attacked people, and that was a national disposal. It takes over.
Yes.
You know that we need to come out and put the real issues on the table. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
My final comments is just a clarion call today. Gambia is at the crossroads, Ahmed. If the Gambia ever needs its citizens, its good citizens, to stand up and fight for the future of that country, it is now. Now is the time. If we miss this train, believe me, like you said, we might as well consider our options.